So here you can see the original drawing of my Halloween piece that I showed you earlier. So this is the inked drawing that you can see. It's not perfect, but it's way better than the Sarah because this is very defined. You can see that I really can see my edges. I really can see that this is quite straight. As I told you, it's not perfect, but it's way better. Here, it's like you can have this here, the A, the E, the N are on the same level. So this will help me working way better. So I'm gonna show you, I'm not gonna do the whole drawing, but I'm gonna focus on the H and show you how to accomplish a nice H with these curves, this really straight angles, how to accomplish it with horizontal and vertical Bezier handles. So first thing we need to do when you import your drawing, you have your drawing, it's here. So you have your layer here, you double click on it, and you will use it as a model. So you check model, and it will make your drawing at a lower opacity. I usually put it at 30% because I prefer it to be 30%. It's still visible, but I can mainly see my artwork. Okay, so this puts it at 30% and it locks it, so I can't move it by mistake. The reason why I don't just do a regular layer and put it at 30% and lock it is because I will sometimes need to see only the line of my drawing and I still want to see this. I will explain it to you a bit later. So I have my model here. You can, if you're a control freak with layers, you can just call it model, and you create a new layer. I'm gonna zoom in on the H so we can see it right. So here I'm gonna define how is gonna be my vector. So I don't want any filling, so I just check no filling here. And here the stroke is going to be black. I'm gonna do a 8-point width, and the stroke will be, yeah, this is kind of, I want a round nib and round angles. So this is okay. And now I can take my pen tool, the pen tool, which will help me to do the whole thing. First thing you need to know is where to start. So I usually like to start on a curve rather than on a straight point because this helps me to have a movement. If you start here, well, this is a personal preference, but you can do whatever you want. It's just the way I do it. So I zoom in really close. I go at the top. Well, I'm gonna start here because this is more obvious. I go at the highest point of the curve and I click, and this is the moment where you need to learn the trick. So here you can do this. You just can guess what is horizontal, but this is not precise. So if you want to have something that is locked, you hit shift on your keyboard. Shift, and here you can see it's gonna be horizontal, diagonal, or vertical, but it's gonna be perfect. So make sure you hit shift while you drag your handles and you release the handle before you release your shift. So next thing is how long to make these things. So I usually make it the length of, you can see here, this is the limit of my curve, so I'm gonna make it around here. So I have my first point. Next thing is to make this one. Why not this one? Because I want this curve to be created thanks to this point and this point. This is the purpose of Bezier. It's calculated, it's curves that are calculated thanks to the points and the handles you create. And this mathematically creates nice and smooth curves. So you have to trust the tool. So this is the lowest point, you know, this is the point, the position where the curve is the lowest on this curve. So I'm gonna go here and shift and drag it until I have a nice curve. So here you can see the curve. It might be a little too thick. So first thing you can do is make it a little thinner, or you can hit if you're on a Mac, it's gonna be Apple or CMD Y. If you're on a PC, it's gonna be I guess Control Y, so you can only see the skeleton. And remember earlier I told you it was important to make a model layer and not just a regular layer with a lock on it and make it 30% opacity, because on this mode, if you have a layer, a graphic layer, which is a regular layer, it will disappear. But if this is a model, it's gonna stay. So stick with the model layer. It's just what it's made for. So here we don't have to be bothered with the width of the line. We would just have the skeleton of it. So you can see that we have a nice curve, but it's not matching quite as we want the original design. So what we can perfectly do, and I do it often, I go back on my point, I select it, and I drag my handle. So you can see that if I go back on a point, I can drag one handle and the other one doesn't move. So, well, with time you will get experience and you will quite know how long to make these things for it to match your drawing perfectly. But for now, it's perfectly okay to go back on points and drag it a little or make it longer and shorter so it matches your design. So now I matched my curve. I can go back with my pen tool, go back on one point, I click and I don't release my mouse. I hit shift and drag it. Okay? Because if I don't do it, if I just click it, I will cut the thing. You know, it's not, the handle is not smooth. I create an angle. So really remember, you click it, you don't release, you hit shift, so it's locked, and you drag it. So here I'm gonna drag it. Next step is a bit more difficult because I have a curve here, but then it goes higher to an angle. So I'm gonna go here, make it horizontal. I can see it's not matching, so I will correct it later. Okay, so I go here, and then I can go here and make it a diagonal Bezier handle. See? So this match way better. I can go back here, drag my handle, make it a little shorter maybe, just play around with this so it looks nice. Another thing you can do is move things around. You select your point, you move it a little, you drag this so it's nice, and you just have to hit back CMD or Control Y to be in normal mode, and here you can do another set of adjustments. But first we're gonna finish that H, and then we're gonna arrange things a bit. So here I'm gonna go back on that point, and what I want is a nice straight line. You see, I want something which is straight, and then start again my curve. So I have to guess a bit where it stops being straight, perfectly straight, and where it starts being a curve. So here we come back on this point and we don't drag it, we just click it so it's a nice clean angle. And we're gonna make another straight point around maybe here so we can have something that is quite, yeah, this is quite what we want. You can move it a bit if you don't like it, but this is quite what we want, and this will be in the curve will be in the continuity of this straight line. So here we just clicked, we didn't drag anything, it's a straight point. Then I can go here and make a nice horizontal Bezier handle, and you can see I release, and you can see here that it's perfectly smooth. There is no problem. If I did it the other way, I'm gonna go back, CMD Z or Control Z to cancel what you just did. If I did this like here, it wouldn't have been good, because you can see that obviously this creates a curve, and I would be forced to create a point here and move it here so it fits. But this is not a right method for me, so I don't do it this way. I rather make a straight point and then make my curve in the continuity. So you can see here that I can go farther without my other handle going her way. So I just go here to make this curve okay, and then I go back here, I click and I drag, so I'm just modifying this handle. So I go far enough, and remember, this curve, I want it to be created by two handles, this one and this one, which is going to be parallel. So I drag it here and I create my curve. I take my white arrow, select my point, move my handle, move my other handle. Remember, always hit shift to keep your handles locked. This is nice. I can go back here, drag it here, and then do this other loop. And I'm not gonna change my method. Just click here, drag it. I went a bit far here, so I can just modify it here like this, and this is nice. So I'm going back here, and here again I'm facing something that is unusual. I don't have only loops, I have this straight, not so straight line that goes all the way here. So here I'm gonna do something a bit different, is that I'm gonna create a vertical handle here, because if I do something vertical here and vertical here, I can create a nice curve here. So I first need to make it shorter. So if I don't do it, you will see I have something like this. It's not good. So I go back here, I make it shorter, and go here and make my loop. This handle needs to be longer, so I go back here, make it long enough, and then I go here, strongest point of this curve, I go here and I drag it, so I'm creating a curve. Here, tweak it a bit, tweak it here, tweak it here, just do all the tweaking necessary, move it a bit, make it longer, make it a bit longer here so it's not off. Here you tweak things, and this is one thing that you must remember, is that when you're doing a hand drawing, sometimes, well, the curves you're making with your hand are not perfect compared to what you can do with your Bezier. So the more you will draw, the more your curves will be accurate. You can see it on the drawing of masters that they have really perfect curves, and if you try to vectorize it, you will see that this is absolutely perfect, that you will your vector will match perfectly without any effort. So Here, maybe my curve, my hand-drawn curve is not perfectly right, and I can just keep this one, which will be way more accurate. So I'm going back on my point here, and this is another case of me making it vertical here and horizontal here. Why? Because if I do it horizontal here, I can have another horizontal point here that will make this nice curve without any effort. So I make my point here, not too long here. I go back, I make it longer here, and I can make my other point here and just drag it so it's nice. Take my white arrow, select my point, a bit shorter so it fits. I go back here, drag it, and make the final point. So here we have our H. Oh, I just realized I need to finish that, so same thing, dragging it and drag it here, and I finish it here, dragging it this way, and cut it just by clicking on it. Perfect. So we have our H, it's finished. So we can just zoom out. This is important to zoom out so you can see the bigger picture. We're gonna hide our model and CMDY so we can see our vectors. So you can see it's smooth, but it's not perfect. So this is the moment you will need to zoom in and move things around so it's nicer. So here it's a little flat, so we're gonna take it and move it so it's a little better. Maybe this, move it like this. Again, this is my drawing is not perfect, so I have to perfect it in vector. Here, make it a little shorter. Maybe, yes, maybe put a little down like this. This thing needs to be a little longer so I have a better curve. So this is quite okay. I need maybe to do something a little better here. Maybe move it around so it's not like an angle here. So this will require a bit of smoothing down. So this is okay. I can go here, maybe move this a little bit, make it a little longer here. Okay, so we have something that is smooth and that we can use in a composition. This is a solid vector, and as you can see, we don't need that many points. We just really need to stick to this method of horizontal and vertical, and sometimes diagonal if you need it. So you have something really smooth and you let Bezier curves do the rest of the work for you.